Stephen Smith. I'm with Christian Leadership Partners. We provide leadership solutions for both profit and nonprofit organizations through coaching, teaching, and mentoring. What we want to do is we want to provide you with the tools necessary to make you that much more successful. Your organization needs your help as a leader, and what we want to do is we want to equip you with everything that you need to be successful. Why not check out our website at christianleadershippartners.org and see the tools that can make the difference in your life and in the lives of your subordinates. What we want to do is we want to provide you with a free 30-day training program that looks at the leadership of the kings of Israel. Why would we do that? Well, for three reasons, really. The first reason is that it gives us a picture of what is good and what is bad in the lives of these leaders. If we can identify the good things in people's lives and the negative things in their lives, and we can emulate the good and we can get rid of the bad, can't we? And that's what we want to do as leaders. We want to learn from others and make sure that we can understand these things. The second thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we can take a look at the historical record of the successes and the failures of these same kings. Now, why would we do that? Well, what it does is it gives us a picture of what they were thinking, it gives us a picture of what they did, and it gives us a picture of what actually happened. So if we know that they did certain things and got certain results, then we also know that we as leaders, if we do certain things, we're going to get certain results as well. And we can learn to stay away from those pitfalls that they had and share in the celebrations that they had for the things that they did successfully. And that's what we want to do for you here today. The third thing that we want to do is we want to take a look at servant leadership. Now, servant leadership gives us a picture of the leadership of Jesus Christ, and we'll take about a week or so to do that at the end of this study. I encourage you to stay with us that long because it'll make all the difference in the world. What we want to do is we want to take a look at the life of Jotham. Jotham is the king that took over after Uzziah. Uzziah was a great king. He reigned for 55 years in Judah, and we look at him as one of the more successful kings of Judah. Now, he had a little bit of pride, and he got leprosy, and his son had taken over during the course of while he was still king, and he took care of some of the administrative details, ribbon cutting ceremonies and things like that. But we can see this in 2 Kings 15:5. It says, "The Lord struck the king with leprosy, which lasted until the day he died. He lived in isolation in a separate house. The king's son Jotham was put in charge of the royal palace, and he governed the people of the land." So we can see that Jotham had enough leadership skills that were identified by the people over him, and they promoted him and put him into positions of leadership. Although he didn't hold the title of king, he still governed. Now, a lot of us may not hold the title, but we're still in that position. I'm sure that you've been in situations like that where you've worked one position up or two positions up and never really got the credit for it. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we do a good job, and we want to make sure that we're following what the organization wants us to do, but we also want to make sure that we're doing what that leader above us was doing, especially if they were good leaders. And that gives good continuity for the people underneath us. We want to make sure that we provide that for them. So why can't we do that? I believe that we can. 2 Chronicles 27:1 says, "Jotham was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. His mother was Jerusha, daughter of Zadok." So we can see that Jotham became king after he had this practice run while his dad was sick. So it doesn't say how long that was, but until the age of 25, he had lots of practical experience to become king. And we don't always get that great opportunity, but we want to make sure that we as leaders can take every single opportunity that we have for leadership. That means that we should be volunteering to lead different details or different tasks or different projects that are out there within our organization. And it's not so that we can gain notoriety, it's so that we can gain experience. And that's what Jotham did. Jotham didn't say, "Hey, you know what, my dad's not here, I'm going to make sure that he's dead, I want to take over as king. You need to start calling me king." We want to understand this simple fact that we will not allow pride to get in the way of our lives. And if we can do that, then we know that we can be successful. 2 Chronicles 27:2 says, "Jotham did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight. He did everything his father Uzziah had done, except that Jotham did not sin by entering the temple of the Lord, but the people continued in their corrupt ways." Now we can see that there's still a problem here in Judah. The issue is that Jotham didn't really have the authority or the ability to be able to change the direction of the nation. He changed the direction of his life. He changed the direction of the palace. He continued to do the good things that his father did. He didn't allow pride to get in the way, but he was unable to sway the people's popular opinion. He allowed that to control the things that he did or didn't do. We can see that that becomes a problem with his son, who is one of the worst kings of Judah, but his grandson comes in and really takes charge and does all these things properly in Josiah. And we'll see that in just a few days. So let's take a look at the rest of this. This is 2 Kings 15:35. And it says, "But he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offered sacrifices and burnt incense there. He rebuilt the upper gate of the temple of the Lord." So we can see that he was focused on these things, and he was able to make sure that he was focused on what God wanted him to do, and yet he didn't take down these pagan shrines. He didn't keep the people underneath him from doing these things that would destroy them eventually. Eventually he also got attacked, and we can see this. This is 2 Chronicles 27:5-6, and it says, "Jotham went to war against the Ammonites and conquered them. Over the next 3 years, he received from them an annual tribute of 75,000 pounds of silver, 50,000 bushels of wheat, and 50,000 bushels of barley. King Jotham became powerful because he was careful to live in obedience to the Lord his God." So when we follow the instructions of those over us, when we're doing what the organization needs, when we're doing all these things, we're going to find that we're going to be successful in the things that we set our hands to. We want to make sure that we're doing that as leaders so that the people underneath us will willingly follow us rather than us telling them that they have to follow us. It makes all the difference in the world, really. So let's take a look at the successes and the failures of King Jotham. Now, he had several successes, and it's a good thing that we can look at some of these things. He knew that the king before him was successful, so he copied him. Even when he was being trained, he was very successful in what he did. We can also see that he was successful in his battles against foreign kings. In fact, to the point where they ended up paying him money. So we know that he was a good military leader and that he was able to get people to follow him in that way. His troops were successful, and he had favor with the Lord because he was doing the things that he was told to do. We'll find that we have a lot of favor with our bosses, and we'll see that that leads to successes within our organization because they want to help you in everything that you do. We can also see that he was obedient to God, and we want to make sure that we're also obedient to those over us within our organization. Now, he did have one failure, and that was the fact that he did not come against the popular opinion. He didn't take the idols out from Judah, and they continued to worship these other gods, and that led to their eventual downfall. And in fact, his son really picks up where he shouldn't have, and if these idols had been destroyed, then his son wouldn't have had anything to worship. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we set the people underneath us up for the success that we know that they can achieve. Now, I want to ask you two specific questions. The first question is how can you follow the successful practices of those who are before you without making the same mistakes? Now, we see that Jotham was able to do that, so what we want to do is we want to follow along in that same vein. We want to make sure that I can identify the successful things in my life and in the lives of my organization and those who led before me, and I want to implement those into my own leadership situation. I also want to make sure that I can identify the mistakes that they made and stay away from those. The second question that I want to ask you is what's your ethical decision-making process? How do you make good ethical decisions? We want to make sure that when we do this, we're able to make sure that we're making the right decisions ethically, that we have a good ethical decision-making process that facilitates our ability to be able to lead people, but also to be followed by them. Well, I hope that these helped you out in your leadership needs, and I encourage you to subscribe over here. Don't forget to check out our website at christianleadershippartners.org. I really believe it'll make all the difference in the world in your life, and I encourage you to be that leader that you've always meant to be.